Hi, this is the third in a series of videos looking at analytical essay structure. So far, we've developed videos that have looked at writing introductions and that have looked at developing our discussion in the teal body paragraphs. Today, we'll be looking at how we can provide a structured end to our essay that is well organized and reinforces all of the main points we have mentioned in our body. First question I want us to look at is, how does our conclusion relate to the assessment criteria? So previously, we've looked at the sort of criteria that your essays are marked on. This criteria is from the end of your exam, and there are essentially four of them. The first one is your knowledge and understanding of the text and the ideas and values you explore. The second is your development of a coherent discussion in response to the topic. Your third is your use of textual evidence to support your interpretation. And the fourth is your control and effective use of language. All four of these are combined together to give us your mark. So we want to look at what exactly do you need to do in your conclusion in order to best meet these criteria. So what I've done on this slide is I've taken out essentially the criteria that you don't necessarily do in your conclusion. You either do them indirectly in that you're mentioning stuff that's happened before and that's where you've done them, or you've done that, you actually do them explicitly, and that's the one. This is in black and blue. So you'll notice here that in black we have relating your discussion to the prompt. It's really important that we do this. The purpose of our conclusion is just to maintain and ensure that we have that structure throughout your entire essay. Essentially, your interpretation, which is highlighted in your contention, is something that really should form the spine of your essay. And essentially, your contention is just maintaining that spine. It's maintaining that structure and ensuring that you have it and it's filtering through your entire essay. This is showing your assessor that you actually have an understanding of how your discussion should be structured and making sure that you're just linking back to that prompt. It really is that full stop at the end of our essay. This is also going to enable us to develop a structured and coherent interpretation of the text. So it doesn't just enable us to relate to the prompt, but it's making sure that our overarching interpretation is consistent to the end and that we're providing those links throughout. Like I said, your contention is like a spine and your conclusion is just that end point. It's just holding everything together. So we use CAM or CAM to provide us with a way to structure our response and conclusion that allows us to reinforce the coherency, structure, and the sophistication of our response. We're not adding anything new here. Everything that we state in our conclusion is things that have come before. The things that we've stated in our body paragraph, analysed throughout our discussion, or that we've introduced in our introduction. So we shouldn't be coming up with anything new here. Everything that we write in our conclusion is something that's come before. We're just providing that nice summary, that nice full stop that says, this is the end. This is summing up my essay. So in order to write our conclusion, we use the acronym CAM or CAM. CAM stands for C, contention, then A for arguments, and M for authorial message. So the C for in contention means you just state your contention. The A for arguments means you just recap your arguments, and then you finish off with a nice little full stop, and that is the authorial message. That is essentially outlining what is the intention of the author and what do they want to say in an overarching manner about this topic. We have a sample conclusion that's on the screen here in the box. I'd like to pause the video, have a read through that. I'm going to show you how we're going to put together each of these sentences in order to make a sophisticated and well-structured conclusion. Now, the first thing that we need to do is do our contention. Now, our contention like the contention in our introduction, is just outlining the overarching meaning of the essay. Essentially, what the author is saying about the prompt itself. The difference is, and it's a very, very slight difference, whereas the contention in the introduction is introducing that idea, contention in the conclusion is just providing a summary. So essentially here we're looking at what is the overarching meaning of your essay. In your conclusion, you should concisely synthesize rather than repeat what your essay has explored. You're essentially trying to bring everything you have stated together. This will sound like your contention, but it should be phrased slightly differently. You shouldn't just have a repeat of what you've written in your introduction. At the very least, it needs to be paraphrased. So an example would be, we have our sample topic, our sample prompt. Despite their experiences of loss, the characters find ways to make life meaningful. Discuss. Our example is here. Through the multiple generations of the Westaway family, sharing the common experience of loss, and this is the idea here, Jordan highlights the notion that life is a rich tapestry that still allows for meaningful experiences. So you'll notice that this is more summative than it is introducing the idea. There's already been this idea established of this rich tapestry. The rich tapestry has been described in each of the body paragraphs, and this enables us to be more broad and a little bit more poetic the way that we describe this. It's a rich tapestry. Whereas earlier on, we would have discussed how the multiple generations have combined to form this family. So there's slightly different wording here because this is the conclusion. So to start off, we have our contention. It's essentially providing the overarching meaning of our essay. The second is us outlining your ideas. You're essentially just providing links to your three ideas. You don't need to phrase them as topic sentences. It can just be three ideas in one sentence, one after the other. Again, you're making sure that you're paraphrasing here. You're not just repeating what you've said. So this can just be a brief recap of one sentence. You just need to touch on them and not go over them in detail. You should have already gone over them in detail, analyze them in your body paragraphs. Hence, this should not be new information. This should not be a new idea. This should not be new analysis. There shouldn't be any analysis in your conclusion. All the analysis needs to be in your body paragraphs. This is just repeating those ideas, the ideas that have come before. Here's our example. She highlights how the drive for success in the face of adversity can result in unexpected surprises. That's idea one. Jordan reiterates the importance of individuals seeking support from others as she reinforces the necessity of self-actualization. And we've discussed previously that self-actualization just means finding and discovering a sense of self. And the last idea is the idea that going through life alone increases the struggle experienced by an individual. So it's better to actually have loved ones to support you. From here, from outlining our ideas, we finish off with just the authorial message. This is essentially what the author leaves us with regarding the prompt. Now, ultimately, the two most important parts of your conclusion are your contention and your arguments. As long as you have those two components, you technically have a conclusion. And if you're in an absolute rush, you could probably get away with just one sentence that outlines your contention. But for a better essay and for achieving high marks, you want to make sure you are doing the contention, the arguments, and finishing off with an authorial message. In this case, you're just outlining what the author leaves us with regarding the prompt. A good sentence starter for this sentence is something like ultimately, what is Jordan trying to say? Not a repeat of the contention, but ultimately, what are we being left with regards to the prompt? And this is what our example is. Ultimately, Jordan outlines that in order to push through the struggles in life, it is important for individuals to seek solace in family and their own empowerment. Again, this is not a repeat of the contention. It's essentially just a brief overview, maybe philosophically, about what Jordan or the author is attempting to convey through this prompt. And that's why we use the word ultimately, because this is ultimately what Jordan is trying to leave us with. So, as I've said before, the three important parts of your conclusion are your contention, which outlines your key idea, or restate your key idea, your argument, which is just repeating the three arguments and providing a little bit of a synthesis of essentially what you're saying in them, and then the third sentence, or the third part, is your authorial message. What are we being left with regarding the prompt? What is the author, in this case Jordan, just trying to comment on, trying to say philosophically about this prompt? Altogether, our conclusion is going to sound like this. Through multiple generations of the Westaway family, sharing the common experience of loss, Jordan highlights the notion that life is a rich tapestry that still allows for meaningful experiences. She highlights how the drive for success in the face of adversity can result in unexpected surprises. Jordan reiterates the importance of individuals seeking support from others as she reinforces the necessity of self-actualization. The idea that going through life alone increases the struggles experienced by an individual. Ultimately, Jordan outlines that in order to push through the struggles in life, it is important for individuals to seek solace in family and their own empowerment. So hopefully from this PowerPoint, this example, you've been able to recognize and to learn how to write an introduction, write a conclusion. Just to sum up what we've looked at today. The important components of a conclusion include relating your discussion to the prompt and making sure that you've developed a structured and coherent interpretation of the text. Your ideas and your analysis, they are introduced and they are developed throughout your body paragraphs. And in your conclusion, you're really just providing a summary and you're just synthesizing what you've said before. This is really should not be an overly onerous part of your essay. It's something that should take maybe 5 minutes. Because really all the information you're outlining here are things that you've already said. You're outlining your conclusion, which you've already outlined in your introduction, and which we refer to throughout your body paragraphs. You're outlining your arguments, which is something that you go into depth in each of the body paragraphs. Here, you're just providing a recap. You just outline them in one sentence. And then lastly, you're leaving the assessor with something that provides that little bit of insight into your thought process and what you think the author is saying. In this case, the authorial message. This is what we're left with. Hopefully this has been helpful for you and has helped clarify how to write a conclusion. If you would like any additional assistance, please send me an email or come and speak to me at some time this week. Thank you.